though. Like there is what Mwananchi wants. There is the undertones as well that we're hearing, especially from the political class. Would you reckon that conversations that are happening now in all these campaigns we're seeing are capturing the feeling of Mwananchi? They're speaking the Mwananchi's voice because, like you've said it, economy has to be part of the conversation. Are we having more economic conversations, or is it just we are ende sisi ndo tunaingia?
You know, the reason why we have elections every 5 years, Dennis, is for people to make that decision. Whether or not the leaders they chose lived up to their expectations and what they promised. And Kenyans will shock you sometimes. You expect that in what we see in what you call developed nations, sometimes I like to use the UK, is that leaders are able to, that's what in the West, leaders, the people are able to make personal decisions. They look at you and say, Dennis, you came here, told us you want to be a senator or a member of parliament. This is what you're going to achieve. This is what you're going to achieve for the people, and your deliverables were these ones. 5 years have gone by. We can't see much of what you promised. We don't believe you're the best for these positions. And they make those what you'd consider a rational decision, you understand? But, you know, in a country like ours, because of how it is, and it's particularly, I tend to think the level of information as well, because it's still largely a rural county. You know, 55, maybe heading to 60 million people in the country, and just about 5 to 6 million dwellers in Nairobi. It means 90% of Kenyans live in rural Kenya and might not have the kind of benefit that is needed to access, you know, solid information of what's happening on every day, or even be able to feed the kind of data that I have access to. I have brothers and cousins in my village in Kakamega. They might not know the things that I know, but, you know, by blood, we consider ourselves both brothers. So Kenyans might not be that informed, so they tend to make decisions that other people could consider as irrational. But then that is the business, that's the spirit, that's what democracy is all about. Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, they make certain decisions. So we hope as days go by, and this has been my prayer for a very long time, Dennis, having voted 6 times now, 4 presidential elections and 2 referendums too. I've sort of been able to sort of try to study how Kenyans make their decisions. And myself, by the way, because I was in the by-election in Malava, and I was just having an interesting conversation yesterday with a friend of mine who's a former minister there in the county. I was telling you, you know, when we had this by-election last year, when our MP died in Malulu in Shedi, who's also an uncle to me, and we were considering going for that seat, member of parliament for Malava, and ODM kept taking us in circles until we ran out of time. And eventually, when we decided to just get another vehicle and move on because of this broad-based nonsense that we didn't believe in, is that we had to get a different party, and at that particular time. And I tell you, we landed I landed home, and even the people that are considered my own were saying, no. We have to deal with Ruto first here. Anybody else who's coming as a third horse and a fourth horse is a spoiler, is paid, and all those things they brand you whenever you come up in an emotionally charged by-election like that one. You know, what's interesting though is that the guy that they were really rooting for, Seth Panyako, is now full-blown Ruto sympathizer. So I was telling my brother, why were you insulting me? Because I worked for Honorable Odinga. I was at Capitol Hill, and I remember when I did the handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta, immediately after that swearing in of Baba and the fallout that fell that followed after that, and we were at Capitol Hill with Norman Magaya. He's been portrayed for a while, but Norman was there, and Baba was saying, look at these people are insulting me, but they've not understood why I've made this decision. I had options on the table, and I thought, what works best for my people? Do we continue fighting, or do we reconcile with government and ask ourselves, where did we go wrong? And for a moment, I bought what he said, because the alternative of continuous fighting and things like would have only led to deaths and destruction of property. We didn't agree with that handshake, but eventually people agreed. So I told him, my brother, you were against me that time during that by-election, but I knew her because I know Seth Panyako very well. He's been a Ruto sycophant for a very long time. And he just came here for convenience. Now he's back home. And that is what's happening, even in what's happening in Linda Mwananchi, and I hope Kenyans wake up.
Wake up to what? What would you want Kenyans to wake up to?
Kenyans to wake up and change the way they make their decisions when they're choosing their leaders, because then we need to drift towards more rational thinking as opposed to irrational thinking, because that is where the difference is. You understand? Because sometimes we get too emotional and then we fail to see, have foresight of what is ahead of us. And we want to make quick decisions just based on emotions, and then we end up with the same leaders that are